Hello to all my planner people, mamas, and entrepreneurs. My name is Sydney, and this is the Planning Mompreneur podcast. This is where I'll talk about all things planning related, mom life, and small business life. Most importantly, how I juggle it all. Hey guys, welcome back to the Planning Mompreneur podcast. My name's Sydney, and this is episode 2. This episode is going to be about the pros and cons to running a small business, specifically an e-commerce business. If you're watching this in video form, also I cannot talk, I barely got sleep, but if you're watching this in video form, which will be up on my YouTube, excuse how I don't really look at the camera. It's just so that I can utilize my YouTube channel as well as doing a audio podcast at the same time. So I just wanted to point that out there. If you're watching it in video form, I'm going to be looking at my notes a lot because I did make notes, or I'm going to be like a space brain, basically. Alright, so I just wanted to put a little disclaimer out there. This pros and cons list is really relative, so it specifically pertains to myself, the things I have going on in my life, my particular business, the scale of my business. I might talk about it kind of in retrospect, like from what it was before, because obviously my business has changed over the last 6 years. It's going to be year 7 soon. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind, that my pros and cons also may have not been the same 6 years ago as they are now in 2022. No, it's 2023. My brain, save me. Okay, so that is super embarrassing, but I'm going to get right into it, and I'm going to leave that in there because, that is me. You guys get to know a little bit more about me and how I work, or how my brain doesn't really function sometimes while I'm talking. I am not a good talker. I'm not a good public speaker. Recording myself is bizarre to me, and also filming myself at the same time. So yeah, that's a whole nother thing. So I want to go over pros and cons without having children involved and pros and cons with having children involved, because that really changes things. At least it does for me, because I was running my business for 2017. So about a year and a half before my son even was born. I also ran it while also working full-time in the beginning. So again, things have changed, but I'm going to start with the cons. Let's just start with the bad. We'll start with the cons, not even thinking about kids being involved. So a ton of different jobs is what I first wrote down. This just meaning that when you have a small business, at least for me, I'm going to be very specific here. I'm basically a social media manager. I'm a designer. I'm an artist. I edit photos, so I also take photos. I do customer service. I print and cut the stickers. I order from manufacturers, so I'm sourcing items for certain things, just like my notebooks, for example, or washi tape. I'm just a lot of different things. I'm also my own accountant right now, at least still. I'm trying to find one. So yeah, you just have a lot of different job titles. You're not just business owner, unless you are fortunate enough to make so much money that you pass off those jobs to other people and hire people. That's great. So that is definitely a con, but it's only a con based on how you look at it, because I actually find by doing all these things, I'm also gaining a lot of different skill, and I think a lot of people forget that. I never used to know how to use Photoshop. I never used to know how to use Adobe Illustrator. I didn't even know how to use Silhouette before I started, or let alone like design cut lines for stickers. There's just so much that I've learned. Also, even with photography, I just take photos on my iPhone. So there's also presets. I've learned about those. I've learned a crap ton about social media. It's just a big, deep, dark hole of learning. So if you want to look at the bright side, there is a pro to that con. But, sorry if I take too many breaths. I often find I forget to breathe. That's also another thing I need to work on. But another con would be working more than a typical 9 to 5. And again, this is dependent on who you are, how busy you are, how big your business is, etc. But for me, I've always been such a go hard or go home kind of person that even in the beginning, aside from my night shift at the hospital, I put all my extra time into building the business. So it depends how motivated you are, because obviously it takes time to build things unless you're lucky and you just get landed this awesome, wicked opportunity and you have so many followers already that really you put 2 hours in and you started making sales. That is not really the outcome for most people. At least the people I've become friends with in this community, other shop owners that I've chatted with, things like that. It does take lots of time, and you're not going to just put in 8 hours a day. Even before kids, I put in more than that. And I also worked more than 5 days a week. So there's that. I spent all the time I had extra, even my work breaks. I remember on my night shifts, I would bring my iPad and I'd be drawing on my dinner break or breakfast break, whatever you call it when you're doing a 10 to 6 shift. But I would draw at work on my work break. I would do more work. But, I like to draw, so it wasn't all bad. So there's that. You have to think about that as well. Say goodbye to always having your weekends. This is more... This matters more if you have kids or if you have another job. If you are lucky, you can quit your full-time job and just dive straight into your business. You have that financial support elsewhere. By all means, this may not pertain to you. You might just put 8 hours in a day, 5 days a week, or you might put less. So it depends. A lot of cons would be but I guess kind of like meeting different types of people. There's a lot of rude people. I'll just say that. There's a lot of non-understanding people out there. I've been compared to Amazon so many times, and guys, I am not Amazon. It's just a con. People will say stuff, and your mental health may suffer a bit, and you may doubt yourself. That's a whole nother con, is self-doubt. But yeah, I can't even count on my 2 hands how many times I've been compared to Amazon by different people. That's just insane. Small businesses are not Amazon. Let's just say that. No social life. That is one even before kids, so that's why I say it depends if you have kids or not, but this was me before kids even. It depends on you. I am a go-getter. I was determined, so I gave up a lot of that aspect, and I would put a lot of my time into my work. So that is also whatever you would like to do, what you want your life to look like. Now, I definitely don't have one, just because, you throw kids into the mix, you have their appointments, you have their extracurriculars, you have school pickup and drop off, you have your own work, you need to bathe, you need to eat. So yeah, very, very little bit of a social life I have. And a lot of that is actually family. That is most of my social life. So, yeah. Lack of boundaries. That's something that is a con, at least for me. Again, will depend who you are, what kind of person you are. I am typically a people pleaser, so I find I don't really have boundaries. I've been practicing the last year, for sure. I noticed in this last year, I've been pretty good at building some boundaries for myself, and basically even with emails, I used to answer emails every day around the clock. If they came in or messages on my phone, I'd see it, I'd answer it. Now I'm really good. I don't even log in and I log out. So yeah, I will not see them unless it's within my specific times where I want to be doing emails. So I find that's been really helpful, but again, in the beginning, I had zero boundaries. I was just available 24/7, and that is definitely a con if you're a people pleaser. It will just happen naturally, and you will have to kind of teach yourself how to get out of that, how to climb out of doing that, because it's tough. The next con will be time management issues. It's hard to manage time. You have so many different tasks. It kind of goes in with having different jobs. You have so many different tasks, you kind of lose any sense of time management you thought you had, because you just want to get it all done, and honestly, we're human, we can't. So I at least run into time management issues. I never thought I had them, but I definitely do now. And if you think about it, especially in the beginning, tons of time put in where you're not being paid. You're not paying yourself, because in the beginning, there's a lot of costs. Even now, I've noticed, say since last year, let's just say I've had my percentage of growth has gone up exponentially in terms of sales, but also the things I'm buying for the business, my investments have also gone up at the same incline, if that makes sense. Therefore, I'm still essentially not paying myself as much as I should be, but that is the cost of growing business, I find. And it depends what business you're in. Stickers themselves, I'm going to say stickers have a bigger profit margin than other things, but the time it takes me to cut, print, draw, design those stickers, I honestly don't think the profit margin is that big. The actual supplies, though, it is. But if you take your time into it, it's not that big. So obviously, like selling a hand-knit crocheted sweater, your time is going to be worth a lot more. And I think you guys, because I've looked on Etsy, whoever is hand-making stuff like that, people will complain it's overpriced, but actually it's not. So keep that in mind. So now I'm going to talk about the cons with kids. So this will speak to you more if you have kids. Sporadic work hours. So if you have younger kids, especially me, I did not put them in daycare. I was home, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I also am a working stay-at-home mom, if that makes sense. So I work sporadically. So if my husband, say like right this week, he's on afternoon shift, so he leaves from 12 and he gets home at 11:30 p.m. I work in the morning, I get up, say 4:35, maybe 6 if I'm feeling extra exhausted, if I stayed up really late working too. I'll get up then and I work until 12, except for appointments, kids' activities, things like that. So sometimes I stop mid-work morning and I have to go do something, and then I come back to do more work, just like I am today. Because right now it's 12:44 p.m. And yeah, it's midday. After this, though, I'm done. But then I'll have the kids. I'll go pick up my son from school. We'll do dinner. He has soccer practice today, so we're going to go to soccer. Then it's bedtime routine. I have to bathe, things like that, clean the kitchen, make sure I'm fed. And then I'll do some more work until I go to bed finally by like 11:30. So sporadic work hours, definitely. Yeah, I just want to say that. Which then kind of combines with all of this kind of goes together. So never enough time. You're going to feel that. You're going to feel like you never have enough time to get anything done, let alone for yourself. I have 0 hobbies now, which is another one, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So you're going to feel like you never have enough time to even do basic things like my house. So right now my office is a mess, but I've been doing a lot of work the last couple days, so that just shows I'm using it. But I have to choose a lot of the times. Do I pack some more orders? Do I tidy up the living room? Do I fold laundry? Do I design? Do I do emails? Do I clean the dishes I do every day? But like that's something I need to have done, and the bathroom's cleaned. But all those extra chores, like do I sweep the floor again? Do I vacuum the carpet again? Which I have to do a couple times a day. We have pets as well. But yeah, you're never going to have enough time. And I try and make time for like one bath for myself. I do shower in between, guys, but one bath, relaxing bath, once a week at least. So that's something I make time for. And then mom guilt, if you are a mom or a dad, if you're watching this, and you're a male and you're a dad, you'll have parent guilt. I'll just call it parent guilt. So yeah, that's something that's really real, because you're going to ultimately come into a crossroads one day where you're going to have to choose, do I do my work hours, or do I miss out on my kids' activity? Like, sometimes I don't also go to soccer. I work and my husband takes them, And then I have mom guilt because, say, it's a bit colder now, and Aria, my daughter, could have stayed home with me, but then I wouldn't have gotten any work done. But it's just the same, like if my husband was away at work, like today, he's not going to be home for soccer practice, so I have to take both the kids. And it's so different, I guess, because I'm available technically, like nobody's going to slap me if I leave work early, but it's holding myself accountable, which is hard, and then it gives you that guilt. Whereas like he won't think about it at all because, his boss would get mad, and it's so different. Obviously I would never expect him to leave work to come to the kids' soccer practice, but yeah, it's just such a different thing. Just being your own boss is a con for that reason. If you're a parent, I find that's like a big one, is just the guilt that comes with it. And then money is a con when you have kids, because you have that guilt, but you need to make a certain amount, unless this is a hobby for you guys and say your partner can sustain your life and this is just extra, it's different. But in my situation, I need to make X amount to pay the bills, to get the kids things. So there's that mom guilt there, whereas I need to work, but then I feel guilty if I don't, because then I'm stressed out about, say, something else. Money is also a big one. It usually goes to the kids, your bills, and back to the business. And then there's really, it's another thing where there's no extra left for self-care sometimes. But there's also a pro to some things. I'll get into that too. No time for hobbies. So this is what I was talking about. But I am lucky in this case. Work is kind of like a hobby for me, in a sense that I do enjoy the drawing part, and I do enjoy being on, like, I don't like social media. I actually hate being on social media, but I enjoy seeing, at least when I open the app, it's stuff I like. It's planners, right? It's stickers. So in that sense, it's okay, but you will not have time for hobbies. I haven't journaled in months, guys. Basically, the only thing I use is my freely noted notebook, and I put my daily to-do list in it very messily, and that's it. And my notes, and pretty much that's it. I've been trying to use the Hobo Weeks just for appointments and things, because I'm forgetting a lot these days. But aside from that, there's like no stickers really going down. There's no fun pens. It's just straight to the point. So no time for hobbies. I try to also do yoga, but I find I often cancel it because I have too much work to do. So there's that. And kind of all like it sums it up is your mental health. That's a con. It will suffer a bit. Depends who you are again, but I find for me, the stress, I have been told by the doctor that I run off of this stress hormone, cortisone. So it definitely suffers a bit. I will say that you have to be very, very, like you have to know yourself. You have to know when you need a break, and you have to be okay taking a break. I do little things that are for myself every day. Not every day, I try to. Like I do a bath sometimes. Not every day, but I try. And I try to exercise at least 20 minutes a day. That's just something for myself, unless I go for a walk outside, which also I like the fresh air. It helps clear the head a little bit. So yeah, I do those little things. And I find they do help. Also, recently, in the last 6 weeks, I think, therapy once a week, that has helped a lot. Just with different coping mechanisms for stress and how to handle situations. It's always good to keep working on yourself, because in turn everybody else they'll feel it too. Especially if you're a mom. Your kids are going to feel the tension when you're not, 100%. All right. So let's talk about pros now. I don't want this to be too long. I don't even know how long this is. Oh yeah, this is going to be a long one. Well, longer than the intro episode anyways. All right, so there are pros. Lo and behold, there's pros. Don't worry. So one pro, these are without kids being considered, is set work hours for yourself. So if you have no people to take care of, and nothing else that's holding you back, like another job or things like that. You can set your own work hours. So that is definitely a pro for a lot of people. I wish I could do that. I guess I still do technically, but I set my work hours around everybody else, so it doesn't feel the same. So write-offs pertaining to both business and hobby. This is a pro, at least for me. For example, my planners for 2024, technically a write-off for me because I am making stickers for them, and also I use them for work. So that's a little bit of a pro. Pens, office supply, but I do have an addiction to pens. Not really, but I definitely like trying new pens. So there's one definite pro to a lot of things. Part of my cell phone, for example, because I use it for work. If you track kilometers for work, there's just so many different write-offs. Again, I'm in Canada, so it might be a little different if you're in the United States or the United Kingdom. Another pro would be being your own boss. This is a pro and a con for me. But for a lot of people, it will be a pro. You have nobody to tell you what to do but yourself. So take that information how you will, and yeah, you're your own boss. You have nobody telling you you can't take tomorrow off, or if you're sick, you have no one to call in sick to. But for me, I work through everything, so it's not the same, but another pro would be it's mine, I made it. So like a sense of pride. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes that I made before recording this. But definitely, I do feel a sense of pride. This business of mine is all mine. I did it by myself. I put the work in. I would deem it as successful. I provide for my family with it, which is more than enough for me. And yeah, I get to do something I really, truly enjoy. I may not enjoy some of the parts of it, which will be for another episode, but for the most part, I really do enjoy running my business. So there's that. Pros with kids now. You can see there's a lot more cons, unfortunately, at least for me. But pros with kids would include flexible hours. So that's, again, I talked about it in the introduction with my why. My flexible hours are a must-have. My husband does shift work. The kids have soccer. Aria's dance. There's kindergarten now thrown in. Before that, there was preschool, birthday parties, things like that. At least I'm always technically available to take them if my husband isn't. There's always, I'm always available for them. So that is a big one for me. That's flexible hours. It's something I've wanted, which is why I didn't want to do daycare, and only see them a couple hours a day. So that is a major, major pro for me. Again, with kids, especially if you work from home, another pro would be you get to see them. If that's something you like, which is one of the reasons why I moved the office back home and I only lasted 6 months at an external office, is because I truly missed my kids. As much as they stress me out while I'm working, I can hear them. Especially when Aria was younger, if I could hear crying, it definitely stressed me out. But it's also a blessing in disguise. I love having them around, and it's nice. I don't miss anything. So yeah, another one would be teaching your kids work ethic and stuff, especially working from home. So they see me every day. They know when mommy's working. They know I have to work, especially my oldest now, Jackson. He's learning, I can tell, he sees that it's work time. I need to work to make money, and I'm trying to teach him that things cost money, so that hopefully in the future he has good money habits. But that's a little tangent. It just teaches discipline and things like that. I feel like I'm essentially a good role model for them versus, I don't know, I guess I would never just sit on the couch anyways. Even if I didn't have my business and I was just taking care of the kids, I'd be cleaning 24/7. That's one of my dreams, is to have a day or a week to just scrub every inch of this house. But I don't know, I feel like it's good. It's not like I'm being a bad example by working. So yeah, it's just obviously setting those boundaries of when I'm doing too much work and too little family time. So that's something I'm working on. But that is a pro, is they do see that, and as they get older, I think they will appreciate it as well. So I think that's actually all my pros and cons that I've written down, at least. If I can think of something else, I might talk about it in the intro next week just to brush up on it, but I don't think I have anything else really. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I will be back next week with another one. If you have any particular topics you really want me to talk about, please send me a DM on Instagram at PlannerMonkeyCo, or even the Planning Mompreneur Instagram. I'll check both. So let me know, and I will chat with you guys next week. Bye!